You're right.
And a part-time legislature wouldn't, because you'd be dependent on your real job for your income, not just this. And then everybody before, if you're gonna go full-time, well, then you gotta give up your job, and the thought was, if you gotta give up your job, and then if I'm gonna be in for 2-3 terms, that's hard for me to get back into that job, so I gotta be paid for the rest of my life for taking this job. So like when I did 3 terms, I'd probably be up there getting, what, $3,000-4,000 a month, because I did all 3 terms that I could do. And I didn't wanna run for Senate, because I didn't wanna spend 8 more years, you know, in Lansing. But at least I paid something, and I took the RNC job that doesn't pay anything. Don't get me, that's crazy.
Thank you, Bill.
I'm looking here, Maura Corrigan makes $140,000 a year.
She was the head of Human Services, and I was the person that she hated because I kept trying to cut, and I did. I knocked off 30,000 kids in the state of Michigan off of food stamps. How did I do that? They weren't poor.
Oh,
They get up on a little kiosk saying, my dad doesn't come take me out for income tax, my mother doesn't pay me for income tax, I only made, you know, $500 working at the pizza joint, therefore I'm poor, so you get $200 a month food stamps. So I said, change 2 sentences in the law, go look up these people, and Snyder did. He called and said, great idea, we're going to do that. And he said later, you saved $72 million with 2 sentences.
Bill Shooting,
Yeah.
Attorney General. That's a seller.
He has more, he's probably
Plus-
getting pensions for his
Yeah.
other positions
Right.
he
Yes.
was held too.
Yes.
When were they eligible to start drawing their pensions? Just as soon as they got out of
Yeah.
office?
I think so.
Kick right in from day one?
Yeah, according to the law, once they retire out of office, they start receiving the pension, and it's automatic.
But this is old news. The news that we're trying to get to you today is, and that, I can't say this enough, having been there and you haven't been there, you don't need them there all the time thinking up new laws and bills when the only thing required is a budget and only 25% of them are working on the budget. And then when the bill comes up, they put it in what they call an omnibus budget, where the whole budget's this thick and it comes on your desk. You got a choice, either vote yes or no. And they bury a whole bunch of garbage in there, and then you got to vote yes or you got to vote no. And most of the people, the 75% that aren't on appropriations, are sitting there thinking, I wonder what's in the budget. I didn't go through the budget. Did you read the budget? No, I didn't read the budget. Why'd you vote for the budget? Because my leadership told me to vote for the budget. And then a lot of those people now have to sign a little document. You probably heard about that in the news, that you're going to sign that you're going to vote along with the caucus. Baloney. I told Boger he could stick that right where the sun don't shine. I said, if you put any bill up that raises a tax fine or fee, I'm off the bill. She didn't like me very much.
Here's what the amendment is going to propose to do in general. We're going to probably modify it slightly to add some eccentricities. This one actually allows for a 12-year session. Is it 12, Mike, or 14? This is the one that we actually voted on previously to extend the term limits. Mike,
It was
by the
either
way,
12
folks-
years in the House and the Senate, or it was, you could do it 4 here and 8 here, whatever. That's the one issue I think that we're going to run into a problem with. I think we should eliminate the term limits, because most of the people that know anything about term limits said you use your institutional knowledge.
Yeah, in reality, folks, once you've got a part-time legislature, you have term limits.
Yeah, you do. And when I left, for example, in transportation, the guy they gave it to was for Hewlin. First thing he wanted to do was raise your gas tax.
Yeah, it's going to require,
Put on the ballot said nothing about term limits.
yeah, no, that was the one we voted on to put in on the first round. But we are going to actually revisit the term limit issue on this one prior to going to ballot committee. We're still going to adopt pretty much most of these same principles. Require posting of compensation. You have a right to know what you're paying these people. You have a right. It's not a privilege, that's a freaking right. I mean, it's coming out of your pocket, you have a right. Limits for 60 consecutive days, that's not changing.
And with an option to go 30 more if the governor decides.
Like if there's some catastrophe, flood, or something like that, they can actually extend that. Posting laws on the internet, that's going to remain in. If they're going to screw us, we have a right to know all the way 60 days out of the year, Lord willing, the only thing they're going to have to do is the budget. And that's what they should be doing. getting the roads clear, getting, you know, the schools open, getting things done. That's what this is about. And then, we're going to limit the staff. John Engler supercharged that legislature when he created his Engler machine. They added so many employees on the staff. Used to be there were 4 reps to one staff, or was it 1 or 2 staff? Basically, he took that and went 2 to 4 per rep. And that's how a lot of this churning of the cement mixing legislation started coming out at 18 to 200,000 or 2,000 bills a year. I'm thinking cash and bills at the same time.
Well, they only effectively raise somewhere between 400 and 800 bills a year. That's what they actually pass through, but there's been thousands of them put in.
Most of those
Yeah,
same
sure.
principles are gonna be at.
And that's their immediate staff, right?
Yep.
Would you be able to elaborate, you made the statement of if we would get 350,000 signatures, correct?
Right,
And then this would be on the ballot,
correct.
that you were confident it was going to pass?
Yes.
Because you've generated that much support, or
No,
because
because they've done a lot of statistics already, and they've called, and they've done a lot of calls, and this like has an 81% positive rating. People want it.
Okay.
They're
I
sick of
don't,
their.
I don't
what's
think you
going on.
have to be a genius. To me, that's just common
Right,
sense.
right,
And
right.
like I said, when I was going getting signatures, I only had one person tell me no. Oh yeah, I'll sign. It's easy to get signatures,
And 350 is required, 350,000.
roughly. But we want
Okay.
more than that.
Right.
Because when you do a sheet, and if one person cheats and say I'm from Kent County, I'm actually from Ottawa, they'll check that.
Yeah.
And that one person that was from Ottawa, but she signed on the Kent County sheet, all 20 names are thrown out.
Oh.
So that's why the people that, when you pay them $1 to get a signature, they're making sure that this is actually correct.
In Russia, during the election of Prime Minister Putin, one of the things that was actually alleged of him was that he was actually doing what was called carousel voting. Carousel voting is where I'll go to Dave's district, I'll vote there, and then I'll go over here and I'll vote in my district, and I'll go over to Kent County and vote over here. Carousel voting. That same practice I've found has also been done in balloting like this. So you have to cushion those numbers.
Intentionally.
You have to cushion those numbers.
By we had some of the establishment people take our form and said, yeah, we're gonna help you, we're gonna help you. We want 10,000 of these things. They took them, and we found out what they did with them. They picked them up, and they went to the trash bin and dumped them in the trash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the last round, they were stepping in. Arlen Meekoff actually went to one of the donors over in Holland, and the donor talked to me. And he said, don't fund this, don't do this, I'm going to lose my job, quote unquote.
That's what Arlen told them.
Yes. And honestly, folks, you know, I like what Justice Scalia said. We don't have a war between people here. It's a war of ideals. People are your brothers here. But the problem is my brothers weren't the best in business like I was. They weren't. In my own family. I've had a business, a successful business for over 35 years. My brothers weren't so fortunate. And the bottom line is you're dealing with ideals here from people that want to benefit from a system. And this is going to be the largest struggle of this whole event. There's a lot of people that are going to feel threatened that their income is going to be lost as a result of this. Well, in the state, that's going to happen. That's going to happen because we can't afford to pay them anymore. Not at $200,000 a year. You know, there comes a point where that program just goes away. That one goes away. It's happened in USDA. I've watched it happen. It happens. But you have to start saying, we need roads, we need the schools, we need this thing.
Yeah, but let's talk about schools a minute.
Well, we're here to talk about.
I know, but what I'm
legislature.
trying to tell you, on the schools, Detroit's going bankrupt under the state constitution. Even though they go bankrupt, we got to pay for it.
Yeah,
Now, what incentive is there for Detroit schools to ever have been efficient?
yeah.
There is none.
Yeah, I heard it.
So, I mean, that's crazy too. There's two different types of legislators, in my opinion. There's the managers and there's leaders. The managers get in the system, figure out the system, how it works, and how it works best for them, and they work themselves within the system for their benefit. Then there's a leader that looks at this thing and says, this is nuts, let's change it. And the leaders get hammered. I was one of them that got hammered. And trust me, I stood up on issues and I got hammered relentlessly on false information, but that's what they do. It's called Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Any other questions?
We had one that was over here, was that you, or, I wanna take this lady's question, she's had her hand up.
I was trying to remember exactly how I was wording it.
She's a lawyer.
It won't be that long. No, in terms of doing the term limits, I think you mentioned something about you weren't trying, I thought you said you were trying to eliminate them, but then I thought you said something about, changing the terms as well to 4-year terms for
Yes,
both.
I think what the way this should be, and the way we pass it best, is if we have 4-year terms, both in the Senate and the House, okay? But you vote on them staggered years, so you won't lose everybody all at once, and no term limits. So if you don't want somebody, you just vote them out every 4 years.
You don't think there'd still be a problem with the career politicians?
No,
if you got rid of term
because they
limits?
gotta have a regular job. They can't live on that, they're gonna have to do something else to make a living. And that was one of the biggest objections people had, institutional knowledge. For example, when I sat on transportation, I made sure the bridge wasn't gonna get built, and the entrepreneur was gonna build that bridge, that was Matty Maroon. We promised him he could, but then the governor wanted to build a new bridge, which we didn't need. I made sure that didn't happen. I left, as soon as I left, they waited me out, the lobbyists waited me out, and then they waited for the next guy and said, oh, we gotta have that. Sure enough, he wanted to build that bridge. Because he didn't know all that was involved in the costs and the inefficiencies and everything else. And I can tell you what's happened on the bridge. The guy that owns the existing bridge, we told him he could build his twin span. He was gonna build that at his own expense. He spent $500 million buying the land in Canada and the US, and he built his ramps all ready to go, and then Snyder says, no, we don't want that, we want to build our own. And I had his wife in my office crying, saying, we did exactly what you said, now you said we can't build our own bridge? And I'm saying, I want him to build that bridge because then I'm never going to encumber you on taxes. I want him to do that. He'll never do that. Instead, he wanted to build that. So I said, what will Matty Maroon do if the governor gets what he wants and builds that bridge with Canada? And by the way, the Canadian government doesn't have the money to do what they said they're going to do now either. But if he would, that bridge would go bankrupt. Matty would probably drop his toll to go across the bridge by $2 or $3, so everybody go across his bridge, driving that bridge into bankruptcy, and then he'd buy that new bridge at 50 cents on the dollar. That's probably what would happen.
Well, just one last thing, as far as, I think 35,000 is too much if people are only gonna be in session 60 days. So,
Well, you got expenses too, driving around, going to meetings. Could be.
it
but-
should be public service though. I mean, I'm not running because I think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. You know, nothing I've ever done was to, you know, even being an attorney, most of the work that I do, I get paid less than minimum wage for the hours that you put
We
in
don't
for
know
it.
if this guy's going to do what I'd like to see done and just be there on a Friday and a Saturday and half a day Sunday. They may want to be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that means he's got to take 60 days off from work and he's going to lose his wages. See, so there's some merit to that, and that's the other thing, they can always change that themselves. So, any other questions?
Just get one last one. What percentage of the current legislators do you think will resign their positions?
I hope a bunch.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
You
No,
think?
I don't think so.
Well, we had out of the last run, I only counted 2 representatives out of the entire Republican-dominated legislature that wanted this. And one was Gary Glenn, the other one was the Byron Center Hooker, Representative Hooker, when I was approached on it. I can tell you, the Dems, where they fall on the wire, they just want back in. Really, they just want back in. They're pretty much ousted because of you know, Jennifer Granholm's mismatch. But
But that's not necessarily going to be this next election, because a lot of people are mad about the tax increases, they're mad about building a Senate building we don't need, that costs 3 or 4 times what it was worth, a total cost will be $130 million. They're mad about Medicaid expansion, I can mention a whole bunch of things they're mad about.
got one back there.
Are we trying to get this on a ballot this November
Yes.
or first thing next year? Like, what's the goal here?
I'd love to have it on there tomorrow.
I mean, I'm down for as soon as possible, but realistically speaking, wait what we shoot for here.
We're not going to push on this thing until, I mean, the goal, in my mind, would be the new year. It's going, I mean, you're talking about, if I had several of the surrounding people around here that wanted it, that had money, it would be on there this November. We're not going to get that because
Do we have a big donor? Did you say we had a big donor already?
we've got possible big donor in Ohio. That's possibly going to